it's funny. I get to know a lot of folks in CMO huddles, and one of the things that is funny when talking to Guy, I don't think we've ever actually had a conversation about your product. We've only talked about how we can help CMOs. And I marvel at that because that is a notion of CMO huddles is we sort of share, care, and dare, right? We help each other solve problems. And one of the things that you guys have focused on is AEO. But could you just give me one, like the 1 minute, what is Webflow? Just so I can sell for you since you don't do it.
Webflow is an enterprise website builder that focuses on helping you create visually stunning, emotionally evocative brand building sites that also help you drive revenue through ABM, testing, personalization, coding optional.
Coding optional. Okay, thank you for that, by the way. First time, literally the first time in all the conversations. So funny enough, we've been talking about AEO a lot in our huddles, not a surprise. We actually did a live streaming show, and so this is on the record. Kelly Hopping, CMO of Demandbase, said, when I asked about AEO, she said, I think AEO, GEO is a load of crap. She was being provocative, but so I thought that'd be a fun place to start. Can we talk about it? Like her point was it's about SEO best practices. If you do that, you don't need to care.
I think it is a great way to frame the problem, and I agree and disagree. I agree in the sense that good AEO is actually quite close to what good SEO always should have been, right? Like genuinely valuable original content is getting rewarded even a little more because the LLMs, they have more signal. When we all learned to speak Google, we queried 4 words at a time. Now it's 23 words and growing. So in that sense, I agree with her. Oh, and by the way, if you look at Google AI overviews, 52% of the sources that are cited are in the top 10 search results. So they're related. I agree from that end. On the other hand, I don't agree at all because unlike search that used our words, I know I'm stating the obvious, but it's reformulating our carefully crafted, differentiated language that we worked so hard to have our team repeat over and over again. And so it is totally normal for it to be like, here are all your features, leaving out your value prop, or confidently getting it wrong, or leaving you out entirely. And so I feel like there's brand narrative risk. There's also the other half of our job, driving revenue. There's risk there because how many people in this room have seen organic traffic drop in the last year? Yeah, that's a good chunk of the room, and Bain did a study that correlates with what I've heard from other CMOs. 10, 20% is normal, and so like there's real both threat and opportunity because it's early innings in a new medium.
So I mentioned earlier this notion of marketing as service and how Guy is here to help in thinking about that. They've created a maturity model. Every single brand, every single company here, unless you registered in the last week, ran it through their analysis. And talk a little bit about the maturity model and what they're going to see in their inbox next week.
We humbly suggest as you're managing your teams to not leave SEO behind and go to AEO, because your SEO team is your AEO team, your SEO agency is your AEO agency, but expand from one to the other, that you think about it in 4 categories. Your content, your technical setup, how you establish authority, and how you measure the results. And we put together a 1,700-line prompt across a dozen different agents to go look at your site, go evaluate it against this rubric, and then share with you, hey, here's what we see, here's what we think you can go do next. Nothing related to Webflow. Hoping it helps you better manage your teams and give them pointers. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And by the way, it's an LLM. It's not perfect. It sometimes gets things wrong. But it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Give me the 4 things again.
Content.
Content, 1.
Technical.
Tech.
Authority.
Authority.
Measurement.
And measurement. Okay. So everybody's focused on the content part. A lot of folks are thinking about it that way. I want to go to the technical side because there's this thing called schema. You can go on whatever you want, and you could actually have it create schema for you. It didn't work for me, but I got schema. I couldn't get it onto our website. Talk a little bit about this tech side of AEO and schema and why CMOs should at least give them what they need to know about it.
I think the important thing for all of us to know technically is, okay, we've had our teams doing on-page SEO, putting the right keywords in, thinking about topical clusters in terms of keywords. Now we should think about topical clusters for AEO in terms of questions that our prospects are asking, and I invite you to go run an LLM over your Gong calls or whatever sales recording tool you're using. Run it over your sales emails. Go to Google and have your team look at people also asked, and pick then a group of questions. The thing that LLMs value more than Google did is then helping them understand the structure and meaning of your content. And that means putting metadata on your page, which you know is something the machine will see and the humans won't. Your teams have been doing this forever, right? You've got the SEO metadata, you might have Facebook Open Graph stuff. A couple of startups like Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, and Yandex came together like 5 years ago and created this made-up metadata structure called schema, where you can tell an LLM, here's an events page, here's a product page, here's a bio page, and so on. They created a bunch of them. If your company has a Google Knowledge Graph entry, it almost certainly is driven by you having schema on your site. It's hard to overemphasize actually how valuable this is. And so we happen to auto-generate it for your site, and it does actually work, but having your team have them go look at it. Literally, that word schema that you hear often enough, schema.org is where it is. Our SEO AEO lead, Vivian, she took our top 6 product pages. She added FAQs to the bottom of them, just as a start. She added schema to those. In 2 weeks, more than half of the incremental citations we got as a company came from those 6 pages. We have thousands of pages. And traffic to those pages grew 24%, organic traffic did. And so, like, you can have an impact relatively quickly because the LLMs are crawling all the time.
Pause, digesting. Is essentially what's happening is you're creating a website, a parallel website that the LLM can analyze bot to bot, essentially. Or is that what we're doing with schema?
Yes and no. No, in the sense that, like, if you redirect somewhere else, almost certainly that'll be considered black hat and you'll be dinged for it.
Okay.
You are giving them extra context on what your content already is. Ultimately, your site now does have to speak to both audiences. It needs to be engaging to humans, which LLMs can see, in particular as they have browsers, and clear, concise, and repeating the things you care about to the machines.
So I'm curious, how many of you have have schema on your websites? Raise your hands, please. Not everybody. Okay, so there's an action item.
So you are in great company because 73% of Google's top search results have schema on them. 88% of websites don't. There's real opportunity sitting and putting it on your site.
Right, and this is not complicated stuff. Although, I mean, I could actually get it, generate the code. You could probably generate the code. You probably want a webmaster or somebody who actually knows where to put it.
Candidly, that's why when the product team built it, I was like, this is so valuable, because this is one of the few times you really do need an engineer and a marketer together, either on their own. Almost certainly won't be able to do it.
Okay, we have a couple more minutes, and I want to sort of now flip it back to the part that we all like to talk about, which is content. You mentioned Q&As. These are long-form things. Talk a little bit about this, and also I know things like pricing and comparisons. A lot of folks that came up yesterday, they don't want to put comparison stuff on there. Talk a little bit about the content that really matters in the scheme of AEO.
I really do suggest you go guide your teams and invite them to go get curious about the questions people are asking, the ones they're really asking, and shift some of the content creation to fully comprehensively answering them, and answering them throughout the funnel, because people will ask it in different ways throughout the funnel. That is the single biggest shift. Folks mature from there to adding structure actually into the content itself. So FAQs is one way, bullets are another. Having headers like H1, H2, H3 that actually represent and summarize your content. Having one concept per sentence. There are a bunch of things your team can do as they are creating this content. And then, sorry to say, the content machine is as voracious as ever. 95% of ChatGPT citations point to content that's 10 months old or less. And if you put some indicator of freshness, like last updated, you will get cited 1.8x more often. So now you go to your team and are like, I need genuinely valuable original content, and you got to update it all the time. It's
And so it sounds like SEO in the sense you go and you look at your top 100 search pages and you update all of those, which isn't really that hard. And you probably could write an agent to help do that.
You can, and in fact, we saw great value in that. Vivian and team 5x the speed with which they were updating content with the help of some agents, and they saw in 2 months 42% more traffic to the updated pages, and the traffic was more qualified. It converted 14% better for the stuff we cared about.
And this is really the essence of why we care about AEO and why we could spend an hour on this, which is your customers are not coming to your webpage, they're going to LLMs and they're asking these long-form questions, give me the top people that I should think about for my company in this circumstance with all this stuff, right? That's why we're doing this.
Totally. The core job hasn't changed. You're trying to show up where people are going and have them come to your site. This is just some tweaks to the mechanisms we've been using to do that.
Now, with Google changed their algorithm seemingly every 7 minutes, but how fast is this going to change in LLMs?
Great question. I actually respectfully disagree. I think it makes news now when Google changes their algorithm because they do it because it's 15-year mature. Okay. I invite you to think of a lot of parallels to the early days of search. Lots of players. It is changing every 3 minutes in LLMs.
Okay.
The fundamentals of good content won't change. Keep investing there. There aren't a bunch of tips and tricks that'll change tomorrow.
So, all right, if you have any questions at lunch, be sure to find Guy. He is spending a lot of time thinking about this. Guy Yalif, thank you so much.
Thanks. That was fun.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. Okay.